Hello, I am back with another tutorial for beginner artists. I got you. Never do the following things to your art, with a small caveat, which is you can do some of these things if you know what you're doing. Also, I'm recovering from a cold, so excuse me if my voice sounds a bit rough. Alright, first up, never shade with black or with the airbrush. And I say that because it's something that a lot of beginners do, but if you're a seasoned professional who knows what they're doing and you're going for that specific style, for example that cartoony style, then you can shade with black. But I think the logic here is that I want to make things darker, and what is dark? Black. So I'm going to shade with black, which makes a lot of sense, but in reality most things reflect not black, which means that shaded areas just tend to be less saturated rather than black. And the other thing is never shade with an airbrush, again with the caveat, unless you know what you're doing with the airbrush. My logic was, well, I want to make things darker, so I'm gonna set this to black, maybe set this a little low on the percentage, and then shade where it gets dark. And I always did this with an airbrush because in all honesty, I had no confidence in where hard edges should be. So I thought if I just softly shade everything, it will somehow turn out okay, right? And if that's what you're going for, awesome. But if it isn't, then what I recommend you do is take the base color of whatever you're trying to shade. We want a darker tone, so go down. And then you can stay here or you can go further saturated depending on your coloring style. And then choose a brush that can have both a soft and hard edge. So something you can blend with preferably, and something that will also give you like a distinct line, and then shade with that. What I recommend you do is specifically learn where the edges should be. For example, this guy is buff, right? Which means that there's going to be a sort of ledge between his chest and his stomach, which means that this area is going to be shaded. And to be honest, that's the case for most characters, I think. And that way you can sort of avoid this unconfident shading. But if you know how to shade with the airbrush and you can incorporate different edges into your shading, then that's amazing. Congratulations. Alright, next tip is don't draw hair strand by strand. And I say this because I used to draw hair like this. Because I was a sketcher, right? I had a pencil, which is quite a fine tip. And I used to just kind of like do this over and over again. And again, if that's the style you're going for, all power to you. However, if you're actually trying to paint rather than draw, then you want to outline the bulk of the hair first. Her fringe is quite straight, so I guess it would just go across like that. And then you color this in, right? Like, I don't know, you shade it in. And then from here what you can do is take the color of the hair. It can be the highlight color, or it can be from any part of the hair, to be honest. And then draw several strands, highlight strands, you know? To show that it's not just a block of hair, it's not just like a mass, there are also fine strands. And that way you get the finish look without individually drawing all the strands of hair. Okay, next tip. Let's say you drew something that you're really proud of, and you just left the most difficult part for last. It could be the face, it could be the legs, for me it's the hands, and you really don't want to mess it up. And sometimes all you can do is just like try it out and then rub it out and then try it out again and then rub it out again and then do that over and over, but eventually you get nowhere, right? So I say just don't obsess over it too much. Just know when to like chill and move on, but you still want to finish the piece, right? So for me it's hands. I don't want to draw hands. So if I have a character, I could just give her mittens. There we go, it's now winter. Or I could make her wear super long sleeves and make her extra cute. You know, move on from the piece, practice the part that you weren't sure of, and then come back to it. Or maybe this one just kind of depends on your personality, because I personally just got really frustrated, especially on paper. You know when you like do a sketch line and then rub it out, it kind of crinkles the paper and that's really annoying. And if you do that over and over again, you just end up ruining the whole drawing. If you're drawing digitally, you have a bit more flexibility. Alright, let's come back to Nanami. This tip is don't make tangents in your art. So if you look here, there are a lot of tangents. You can see that both of his shoulders are touching the edge of the frame, and so is his head. And those are tangents, right? And they just make the overall picture look very constricting and limiting. Which again, caveat, if that's what you're going for, by all means create all the tangents. But in this case, it just looks like the canvas is just too small to contain his body, and it can be quite frustrating to look at as a viewer. So either create the space around him, or you can enlarge him so that you just get rid of the tangents altogether. Alright, let's say you've been drawing for some time now, and suddenly you look at the picture for too long and now you're not sure what looks proper anymore. My advice is don't forget the original line of movement, especially when you're drawing live figures, such as people or animals. If you're unsure of the flow of movement, just lower the opacity, grab your pen, and just draw the vague line of movement so you can go back to how you started drawing in the first place. I know that these things can be lost along the way. If it looks all good, maybe you've just been looking at the pictures for too long, and if not, you can fix it. Nothing that a little mesh transform or liquefy can't fix. Alright, the next few tips are just kind of abstract. They're just things that I kind of wish I was told when I felt frustrated with myself as an artist. Firstly, you don't have to follow the rules. I know a lot of courses and stuff will tell you like there's an order to learning things, but honestly, as a child, I didn't care if I had to study anatomy before drawing, I just did it anyway. And if I got it wrong, that's fine. I had a rubber, or I could just delete the drawing. It was only when I had access to the internet and everyone started saying, you gotta learn anatomy, or you gotta sketch this way or that way, you gotta draw cubes. That's when I started getting super overwhelmed. And to those growing up with social media and the internet, you don't have to do that. And sure, it might be effective and efficient, but that might not be the best way of learning for you. And art is a very hands-on experience, so if following rules and stuff hinder you from doing art, just don't do them. Do whatever you want. Another one is don't limit yourself. So this picture was me going above and beyond what I thought I could do. At the time, I thought, man, the composition of this is far too difficult. But I'm gonna try it anyway, because the most you can do is fail, and the consequences of failing at art is not much, to be honest. If you ever think, I wanna draw or make this, but I think it's too hard, just try it anyway. Even if it doesn't turn out as well as you think it could have, it's fine. You can upgrade your skills and then try again next time, and then you'll be better at it. My last tip is, don't think too hard about it. Just put pen to paper, pen to tablet, or hands to craft, whatever. Being an artist means you do the thing, not just think about the thing. You want to create and stuff. It is really easy nowadays to procrastinate and overthink things, so I hope that I can motivate you to do the things that you like doing and create the things that you like creating. I hope I was helpful. I really do. And I'll see you next time. Bye.